Alright, hey guys, so I want to talk to you guys about new t-shirts that have come out, and basically this came about as a result of somebody pissing me off and missing the whole point of what we do here. So the back says that performance in the absence of opposition does not equal competence. So performance, talking about how well you do, talking about how good your training is, talking about, you know, all of those things, your performance in the environment that we're working for. All right, performance in the absence of opposition does not equal competence. All right, you are not a competent fighter, gunfighter, knife fighter, anything else if everything that you're doing is against paper targets, is against individuals who are not actually resisting you. Now, don't hear me wrong. I want you guys to keep in mind that all of these things are appropriate and they are necessary levels of training. So we want to train pistol in isolation, but at some point that pistol has to come to a point where we begin to spend more and more time in force on force. By the same token, boxing, we can sit here and we can punch on a heavy bag all day long. At some point, somebody is going to have to actually start punching you back in order for you to classify yourself as competent in striking. You are not competent, I don't care how fast you are. Alright? And you guys out there, you know who you are. I don't care how fast you are not competent in any skill that does not require opposition. Now, does that mean you're fast? Yeah, you're fast, but you're not competent, right? Particularly when it comes to a skill that is directly dependent on opposition, that is specifically designed for opposition or to negate opposition, all right? In the case of shooting, nowhere have I ever seen, in anywhere that I have ever been in the world, have I ever seen a trash can attack a man. So shooting trash cans is not going to be a skill. It's not going to be something that you would necessarily desire to be competent in. But I have seen men attack other men. So if you're planning on using a firearm as a tool against another living individual, your competence is not determined by your ability to shoot trash cans. Your competence is dependent on your ability to shoot another resistant opponent who is determined to not allow you to shoot him. By the same token, striking the same way, grappling the same way, all of these different things, we take skills in isolation and then we build on them. All right? We take gun skills. We learn the function, we learn the mechanics, we learn the marksmanship, all of that, and we gradually build into a place where we're utilizing these in a force-on-force environment. But that's not it. That's not where your training stops. Because at some point, somebody is going to punch you in the face. At some point, somebody is going to take you to the ground. At some point, your gun is going to malfunction. So, in addition to learning how to fight in force on force, you're also going to learn how to take a punch. You're going to have to learn how to deliver a punch. You're going to have to learn how to grapple and how to do all of these things within the overall realm of utilizing your firearm or whatever tools you happen to be carrying. We want to keep in mind that learning skills in isolation, even if it's something like BJJ, is limited. Learning pistols in isolation is limited. Learning striking in isolation is limited. There are rules. In boxing, you're not allowed to kick. In boxing, you're not allowed to take down. When you start opening up boxing to guys being taken down, what you end up with is UFC 1, 2, 3, where guys who have trained their entire lives for isolated engagements are now being taken to the ground and they have no idea what to do because they're in a state that they've never actually prepared for. By the same token, it's completely arrogant and foolish for each one of us to think that because we take time to go to the range and shoot targets live fire, to shoot paper targets live fire that don't resist, that don't engage us, that don't shoot back, or they don't punch us in the face or take away our weapons, and they certainly don't cause malfunctions with our weapon. It's completely arrogant to think that because you do that, you are somehow competent in gunfighting. Today is the day you earn your pay. It's the idea that I am getting up for 364 days to escort this guy around such and such a country where people may want to harm or kidnap him or whatever, and I'm doing this job for 364 days and nothing happens. That's not why you're getting paid six figures. You get paid six figures for the one day out of the year, or the one day out of 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years. When somebody actually comes out and attacks that individual, and all of your training that you have trained in isolation, and all of the training that hopefully you have brought together into a cohesive unit to where you're now able to both strike and grapple. You're able to both strike, grapple, and gunfight. You're able to strike, grapple, gunfight, and clear malfunctions, and access your knife. All of these things. You have trained for all of these things to remove as many of the restricted barriers that we have a tendency to put on our training. We've removed as much of them as possible, and you've done this, and that one day that something happens, you have to bring all of those things into one environment to utilize all those skills at once. That's the day that you earn your pay. That's the day that you have demonstrated your competence, is when there's opposition. So have you ever trained and prepared, and have you ever done these things with opposition? Because if you haven't demonstrated any level of competence. Your level of competence is determined by the amount of opposition that you have. So I want you guys to kind of think about that, let that sink in a little bit, and for you guys who don't follow us on Patreon, we appreciate your support. These shirts, as well as others, are going to be up on our website, so you can go and check them out, or you can go to Teespring and actually order them. But I want you guys to kind of think about the overarching message that we're going for. Performance in the absence of opposition does not equal competence. You guys train hard.